In today's session, we would be discussing a numerical on the preparation of secondary overhead distribution summary. We would be learning how to prepare the primary distribution summary first. Then we would be learning how to redistribute the overheads which have been charged, which has been apportioned against service departments back to the production department. So in that line, let us look at a question, and the question goes like this. The following data has been obtained from the books of Glaxo Company Limited. Prepare the overhead distribution summary, and then we have the details which have been given to us. The details of the expenses of the company, it has been given to us. Okay, so we have the details which have been given to us. So we have details such as direct wages, direct material, employees. So they have given us all the background information that is needed for us to reapportion the cost. And then they have given us the overheads. So the overheads are given here. The expenses given are as follows: a store overhead, a power, lighting expenses, labor welfare, depreciation, maintenance, rent overhead. Apportion the expenses of department X in the ratio of 4:3:3. So in the given context, what has been communicated to us is that department A, B, and C, these are production departments, and then X and Y, they are service departments. So I'll repeat that. A, B, and C, they are production departments. X and Y, they are service departments. So whatever overheads that has gone to the service department, it needs to be reapportioned back to the production departments. So here we have department X, which is in the ratio of 4:3:3, and then Y, you will have, and so they have given us the ratio. So whatever overheads that have been charged against department X, it needs to be reapportioned to production department A, B, and C in the proportion of 4:3:3. And then for department Y, it needs to be apportioned in the proportion of direct expenses to department A, B, and C respectively. So in that line, let's go about with the preparation of this question. Here we will have to prepare the primary distribution summary at first, and then we will have to prepare the secondary distribution summary. So let's start working on this question. Okay, now that we have the question in place, let us prepare the overhead distribution summary. To prepare the overhead distribution summary, we will have to prepare the format of the overhead distribution summary table. It's a very simple format. The first column is particulars, then you have basis, then you have total, then you have the 5 departments which are mentioned, which is A, B, C, X, and Y. Okay, I'll repeat the formats: particulars, basis, total, A, B, C, X, and Y. And we would be using this table to go about with the preparation of overhead distribution summary. So in that note, let us start off with the preparation. Now, one important thing that you have to remember over here is that department A and B, these two, department A, B, C, these are your, this is your production department, okay? And then your X and Y, these are your service departments. So these are your service departments. So A, B, and C, these 3 together, these are your production departments, and then X and Y, these are your service departments. So let us start off with solving this numerical. Okay, so these 2 are your production departments and these are your service departments. And then let us prepare the overhead distribution summary. Okay, so please remember, these are the columns that we will be having. In particulars, we will be writing down the name of the expense. Basis would be on what grounds are we apportioning. Total would be what is the total expense that needs to be apportioned across across the 5 departments, and then we have the names of the departments which are mentioned, and then we are already aware of the fact that A, B, and C, these are production departments, which means they are actually revenue generating departments. X and Y, these are service departments, and we know that service departments, they do not generate any revenue, and in fact whatever overheads that are assigned to the service departments, it needs to be reapportioned back to the production department. So on that note, let us start off with the numerical. So the first one that we have to write, that we have to apportion, is the store overhead. So the first one that we have to apportion is the store overhead. So what would be the basis for apportioning store overhead? So what would be the basis for apportioning store overhead? So for this, I would be happy if I would get some inputs from students as well. But before you share your inputs, I want all of you to have a good understanding about the question. Please make sure that you read through the question properly, and then you come to a clear-cut understanding, because that is quite essential, because some of the items that are mentioned over there, it can be quite confusing. What would be the basis for apportioning store overhead? Okay, since some of you are still taking time, the basis for reapportioning this would be direct material. Now let me explain to you why is it direct material. It is direct material because when you have to reapportion your uh, the I'm so sorry. When you have to reapportion the store overhead, please remember what is meant by store overhead. So store overhead is the overhead that you are incurring for storing material. And then what material are you storing? The material that you're storing over here is your direct material. Okay, so it is the material that needs to be apportioned. So here the basis is direct material, and your store overhead total is 400. So it is this 400 which has to be apportioned, and we already saw that the basis for apportioning this is your direct material. So the total of direct material, we saw that it is 10,000. Okay? We saw that the total of direct material is 10,000. So in that note, how do we go about apportioning? So let us look at the direct material for each of these items one by one. Okay, so let's look at this one by one. So here it is. So the direct proportion of direct material which is consumed by department A, it is 3,000. So 3,000 divided by 10,000. Now how did I get 10,000? 10,000 is the sum total of all my direct material, and this into 400. Okay, so which is 120. Okay, so how did I get 120? Let me quickly explain to you. I got 120 by dividing 3,000 by 10,000. So what is the significance of 3,000? 3,000 is the share of direct material that belongs to department A. What is the significance of 10,000? 10,000 is the proportion of direct material. 10,000 is the sum total of all the direct material in the organization. So in that note, it will be 3,000 divided by 10,000 into 400. So why 400? 400 is the total store overhead. So that is the reason why we multiplied it with 400. So let us proceed in that grounds. So here for department B, it is 2,500 divided by 10,000 into 400. For department C, it is 2,000 divided by 10,000 into 400. So here it is 80. Now we are moving on to the service departments. So here it is 1,500 divided by 10,000 into 400. And for the last one, which is Y, it is 1,000 divided by 10,000 into 400. So if you add up all these together, it will be a total of 400. Now moving on, so I hope the apportionment of store overhead, it is understood by all. Let us move on to the next one. The next one is power. Okay, the next item is power. So power, the basis for power, what do you think would be the basis for power? Okay, what would be the basis for power? Any thoughts? I would be happy if some students from the class would also participate. The basis for apportioning power would be electricity, because here electricity is given to us in terms of kilowatt per hour. Okay, so it is given to us in terms of kilowatt per hour. So here you would be reapportioning it based on electricity. Okay, and then we know the total electricity, the power expense is 1500. Okay, so the total is 1500. So in that note, let us go about apportioning. For department A, how do we calculate? Department A, we will be calculating 8000. So we would be calculating, uh, at first we have to take the sum total of all the values of electricity in the organization. So when you add up all the electricity in the organization, the total works out to be 25,000. Okay, the total works out to be 25,000. So here it will be 8,000. It will be 8,000 divided by 25,000 into, okay, 25,000 into 1,500 into 1,500. So here the answer is 480. Next one, it is it is 6,000 divided by 25,000 into 1,500. So that is 360. Next one, here again it is 6,000 divided by 25,000 into 1,500. So this is again 360. Now let's work on with the service department overheads. 2,000 divided by 25,000 into 1,500. This will be 120. And then finally, the last one, 3,000 divided by 25,000 into 1,500. 180. So this is how we would be going about with the apportionment of power. So power has been reapportioned, and then power has been redistributed in this manner. Okay. Now let's move on to the next overhead. The next overhead that we have to do is lighting expenses. Okay, next thing that we have to do is lighting expenses. So for lighting expenses, let's go about with the redistribution. Okay, so here on what basis will we apportion lighting? Okay, any thoughts? Lighting expenses, on what basis do you think we would be apportioning? Okay, very good participation. Okay, someone has mentioned area occupied. I would be happy if you read through the question once again. Please look at all the points, all the pieces of information that has been given to you. Okay, so sometimes some of these informations can be quite confusing. And here we also have another one which has been given to us, which is light points. Okay, very good. Thank you for making a note of that. So light points is also being given to us, and compared to area, light points would be a more appropriate basis for you to apportion. Light points would be a more appropriate basis for you to apportion. So let's sum up all the light points together. That works out to be 50. Okay, it works out to be 50. So here what happens is, let's go about reapportioning. So 10 divided by 50 into 200. Okay, into 200. 40. Okay, so how did we get this? 10 divided by 50 into 200. Next is 15 divided by 50 into 200, 60. So it works out to be 60. Next one. Okay, so next one, again, the number of light points that we have over here is 15. So here again, 15 divided by 50 into 200, this is 60. And finally, for the last two, it is 5 and 5. So which means 5 divided by 50 into 200 is 20. And then last one, the answer should also be 20. So with that note, we have completed reapportioning lighting expenses. Okay, we have completed reapportioning lighting expenses. Then the next overhead that we have is labor welfare. The next overhead that we have is labor welfare. What would be the basis for us to apportion labor welfare? Labor welfare would be apportioned on the basis of employees, okay, number of employees. So the number of employees would be the basis for you to reapportion labor welfare. So the sum total of the number of employees in an organization is 600. And on that note, let us start off with this. And before that, let's just quickly confirm what is the labor welfare total expense. The total expense of labor welfare in the organization that works out to be 3,000. So the total is 3,000, and let's go about reapportioning this. So 3,000 is your total. So let's go about reapportioning this. So this is equal to, let's go about reapportioning this one. So here it is first one, that is for department A, it is 200 divided by the total number is 600. So 200 divided by 600 into 3,000. So that is 1,000. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Next one is 150. So this is equal to 150 divided by 600 into 3,000. So that is 750. So 1,000, 750, and let's look at the last two. Last two would be 50 and 50. So here it would be 50 divided by 600 into 3,000, 250, and then 250. So to add up all this together, it works out to be 3,000. So this is about labor welfare. So next one that we have is depreciation. Next one that we have is depreciation. So depreciation, what would be the basis for apportioning depreciation? Any thoughts? Okay, what would be the basis of apportioning depreciation? Very good. Depreciation would be reapportioned on the basis of asset value. Okay? Here it would be apportioned on the basis of asset value. So asset value is what you will be considering, and the total value of your asset, when you add up all that together, asset value works out to be 1,20,000. Okay, so let's go about reapportioning this. So here we will also have to find out how much is the total depreciation for 1 year. So depreciation total for 1 year is 6,000. Okay, the total depreciation for 1 year is 6,000. And on that note, let us start off. Okay, so let us start off reapportioning this. So let us start off reapportioning this for 1,20,000, and we know that the total is 6,000. So in that note, let us start off reapportioning. So asset value for department A, it is 50,000. So here is equal to, so 50,000 divided by 1,20,000. So what is 1,20,000? The total of all your asset values together. And this, you multiply this by 6,000, you get 2,500. So what does that mean? Out of depreciation of 6,000, 2,500 has to be charged against Department A. Now let's move on to the next one. Next one, the asset value is 30,000. So here it will be 30,000 divided by 1,20,000 into 6,000. This works out to be 1,500. Next one is 20,000. So here 20,000 divided by 1,20,000 into 6,000. This works out to be 10,000. Okay. And for the two service departments, here we have 1,000 and 1,000. So here it will be 1,000 divided by 1,20,000 into 6,000. So that works out to be 1,500. Next one, again 500. So together, when you work out all this together, this works out to be 6,000. Okay, this works out to be 6,000. Okay, next one is maintenance. Maintenance, what would be the basis? Maintenance, what would be the basis? Any thoughts? Maintenance. Maintenance, what would be the basis? Okay, I think some of you have sent me the answers. Okay, someone has sent me area occupied. Okay, so since there are multiple answers that we've got over here, this would leave us in a dilemma. So maintenance, what would be the basis? So basis of your maintenance will again be asset value. Okay, the basis of your maintenance will again be asset value. Now, why are we taking asset value? The reason why we are taking asset value is because when we talk about assets, we are usually including all your machinery, furniture, etc. And these are the kind of items which needs maintenance. So machinery, building, furniture, these are the kind of items that needs to be maintained. So on that note, maintenance, it's 1,200, and this is what has to be reapportioned. So here it will be 50,000 divided by 1,20,000 into 1,200. So that is 500. Here it will be 30,000 divided by 1,20,000 into 1,200. 300. Next one. Okay, so this is how we would be reapportioning the maintenance cost as well. So now let's move on to the next one. The next one that we have to reapportion is general overhead. So the next one that we have to reapportion is general overhead. What would be the basis for us to reapportion general overhead? So general overhead, what would be the basis? Yeah, any thoughts? General overhead, what would be the basis? Okay, so I've got some inputs over here. So let me just quickly look into it. Okay, very good. Okay, so some of you have given the correct, most of you have given the correct answers, and the basis over here would be direct wages. Okay, so the basis over here would be direct wages. Okay, so direct wages, the general overhead works out to be 10,000, and this is what needs to be reapportioned. And the sum total of all your direct wages works out to be 20,000. Okay, it works out to be 20,000. So on the basis of this, let us go about reapportioning. So direct wages over here would be 7,000 divided by 20,000 into for this will be 10,000, so that works out to be 3,500. So for next one, 6,000 divided by 10,000 into 10,000, this works out to be 6,000. Next one, 5,000 divided by 20,000 into 10,000, and then finally the last two direct wages, again here it is 1,000. So here apparently I think I've made a small mistake somewhere, and okay, so I think now it should be corrected. There was a small mistake in the value. So here, this is how we will go about distributing general overhead. There is one last expense that we have to reapportion, which is your rent. So this is your rent, and then what would be the basis for reapportioning rent? Rent would be on the basis of area occupied. Okay, rent would be on the basis of area occupied. So area occupied, the total works out to be the overhead expense is rupees 600, and the total works out to be 2,500. So let's go about, so 800 divided by 2,400 into 600. Next one, 600 divided by 2,400 into 600. So since the values are same, this should also work out to be 150. And then for the last two, let's just quickly calculate that. So here it would be 200 divided by 2,400 into 600. This works out to be 50, and here also it is 50. So with that, we have completed the preparation of the primary distribution summary. Okay, so what we have prepared is the primary distribution summary. So let us quickly calculate this one. We have to calculate the total, because please remember it is not over as yet, because we still have to prepare we have to redistribute the service department's overhead to the production department. So our question is not completed as yet. So we still have to go about with the other two. So let's quickly total up all this. Okay, so this is the total in terms of primary distribution summary. Okay, so this is the total in terms of primary distribution summary. So what you have to remember over here is the overheads of these are the total overhead shares for each department. So out of 22,900, which is your total of the overhead, 8,340 will be borne by department A, 66,220 will be borne by department B, C will be 5,100, X will be 1,600, and here Y will be 1,640. Now, one thing that you have to remember is this is not over. We will have to prepare the secondary distribution summary. Okay, so we will have to prepare the secondary distribution summary. Okay, so at first, let us distribute the overhead of department X. Okay, so at first, let us distribute the overhead of department X. So department X's overhead 1,600. This has to be redistributed between A, B, and C. Okay, so 1,600 has to be redistributed between A, B, and C. Okay, it has to be redistributed between A, B, and C. So someone has just told me that there is a small mistake in the total. Can you just quickly identify where exactly is the mistake? Someone has mentioned and told me the total is incorrect. So if you can just quickly identify where exactly is the total incorrect, that would be appreciated. Okay, so while they figure that out, let's quickly work on this. Department X, X's overhead is 1,600. Okay, so this has to be redistributed between A, B, and C. So this 1,600, in what proportion are you redistributing it? Okay, in what proportion are you redistributing it? You're redistributing it in the ratio of 4 is to 3 is to 3. Now, how did we get 4 is to 3 is to 3? Because that is what has been given to us in the question. Okay, so that has been what has been given to us in the question. So how do we go about redistributing this? For the share of department A would be 4 divided by 10. Okay, so how did I get 4 divided by 10? 4, so we know that the ratio is 4 is to 3 is to 3. Okay, so we know that department X, it has to be redistributed in the proportion of 4 is to 3, 3 is to 3. Okay, so 4 plus 3 plus 3, this will give you 10. Okay, so 4 plus 3 plus 3 will give you 10. So this is how we will be going about with the so this will be equal to 10. So now in this, A's share is how much? A's share is 4. Okay, so here it will be 4 divided by 10 into 1,600. So this will be 640. And for here, 3 divided by 10 into 1,600, 480, and then for this also it will be 480. So this is how we will be going about with the redistribution of the so we've only done for department X. Similarly, we have to do for department Y. Okay, so similarly, we will have to do for department Y. So how do we go about for department Y? Department Y, uh, department Y is 1,640. Okay, 1,640. But here they have given us a condition. For department Y, they have given us a condition. And what is the condition? The condition is this: it is in the proportion of direct wages. Okay, it is in the proportion of direct wages. So direct wages, it is 7,000 is to 6,000 is to 5,000, which means it has to be redistributed in the proportion of 7 is to 6 is to 5. Okay, it has to be redistributed in the proportion of 7 is to 6 is to 5. Okay, so in that note, let us go about redistributing the overhead. So it has, please remember, it has to be redistributed in the proportion of 7 is to 6 is to 5, and the total works out to be 18. And then here it will be 7 divided by 18 into 1,640. So that is 637.77. So we can rewrite that as 637.78. Okay, we can rewrite that as 637.78. So 637.78. For here, this will be 6 divided by 18. 546.67. Next one would be 5 divided by 18 into 1640. So this will be 455.56. So if you sum up all this together, it will be 1640. So with that, we have gone about redistributing the service department's overhead as well. Okay, so now we have to find out the total. Okay, now we have to find out the total. But when we are finding out the total, one very important thing that you have to remember is we will be considering only the primary overhead total and the two service department heads total. So in that note, this is how much it will be. So what you see on the screen over here, these are the overheads that has been distributed among the production departments. So now let me talk about the significance of these values that you're seeing over here. A's total is 9,617.78. What does this imply? What this implies is A's share of its own overhead is 8,340. Okay. Now these two amounts, which has been added along with Department A's overhead, is because of the overheads of Service Department X and Y. It is because of the service department X and Y. It is as a result of their overhead share. So that's the reason why this total is working out to be like this. So this is how we have worked out the total. So this is the share of the overhead that has been distributed between the three production department overheads, which is A, B, and C. Now, this is the overhead amount that has to be recouped, that has to be recovered from the from the services and the activities that has been carried out. Okay, so this is the amount of money that has to be recovered from the amount of money that has been carried out. Okay, so this is how we will be going about with the preparation of with the preparation of overhead. Okay, so any questions in the light of what I have taught you today? Do you have any queries or any questions, any doubts? Do you have any questions or any queries?